Welcome to part 3. If you haven't watched part 1 or 2 yet, there will be a link in this video and in the description, hopefully, to go back to those. Divine Shield. This is for the continuation of the Paladin. It's a new skill. It will max level of 10 with a 20% chance of creating a personal shield. Shield absorbs up to 5 times all the damage, and it will give you plus 30 weapon attack. The cooldown of this is 30 seconds. Maple Warrior will increase by 10 MP, and everything else will stay the same about it. Power Stance. Instead of costing 50 MP, it will now cost 60 MP. It has a 9% chance of not being knocked back for 300 seconds. Divine Charge. It will now cost 35 MP instead of 30 MP. It will deal 135% damage for 300 seconds instead of dealing 150% damage for 300 seconds. This skill has now just got destroyed pretty much. Rush. You will now only have to use 47 MP instead of 50, and you will also deal 250% damage to the enemy instead of 130, which is a great thing to know if you're a warrior, just getting that much more attack. Blast will now still cost 24% MP, or 24 MP, and attack the enemy 3 times with 280% damage. Ignores the enemy's defense by 20% and a 50% critical chance and a 10% instant death chance. Well, that is awesome. Oh, and before Big Bang, you would attack an enemy once with 580% damage. So you are losing 300% damage, but you do have a 10% chance of instant death. So I guess it does work out in a way. Heaven's Hammer. The only thing that will change about this, you will gain an extra 500% damage, but the cooldown will be also increased by 20 seconds. Heroes will not be affected. For the Spearman job, Weapon Mastery will be 50% instead of 60% and give you 60 accuracy instead of 20 accuracy. Final attack is the same as it was for Fighter and Page. You will get improved fundamentals, which is like improved basics for the other classes. You will get 120% extra to Power Strike and an extra 70% to Slash Blast. Weapon Booster will now only cost 11 MP instead of 10 HP and 10 MP, and will last for an extra 10 seconds, bring you up to 210 seconds. Iron Will is changing by giving you extra 300 physical defense, and now you'll have 100 magic defense for 300 seconds. You're going up 280 physical defense for this, and 80 magical defense. The only thing changing about Hyper Body is that it will be a max level of 20 now instead of 30, but it will still do the same as it does now. You're getting a new skill of Ground Smash, as all the other warriors are, costing 15 MP and doing 300% damage. For Dragon Knight, you will have Elemental Resistance, which does not change. You will get a new skill called Judgment Dragon. It will increase your critical chance by 30%, 15% minimum critical hit, and 5% probability of draining 5% of the damage dealt. Dragon Crusher will now deal 145% damage instead of 170% damage. Dragon Fury will still attack up to 6 monsters. It'll only cost 33 MP now instead of 30 HP and 20 MP. It will now deal 360% damage instead of 250% damage. Sacrifice will only cost 18 MP. The max level will be reduced to 20. Dragon Fury and Dragon Crusher will now be reduced to a maximum level 22 instead of 30. But back to Sacrifice, it'll deal, as I said, it'll take away 18 MP and 11% HP instead of 18 HP and a 5% damage sacrifice from HP to 350% damage. And now you will do 690% damage. I just read that really confused, so I'm sorry that you had to even hear that. Dragon War Roar. you will only cost 20 MP and 15% of your HP instead of 30% of your HP. It'll do 580% damage instead of 240% damage. You'll have 10-second cooldown instead of no cooldown. Magic Crash will be like every other warrior class. Instead of 7 MP, it's now 15 with a 100% chance to turn off all buffs for 20 seconds. Dragon Blood. You'll still lose 24 MP and will use 40 HP each 4 seconds to increase the weapon attack by 25 for 200 seconds, instead of using 20 HP every 4 seconds to increase weapon attack by 12 for 160 seconds. So for an extra 20 HP, you are getting an extra 13 attack. Dark Knight now. Achilles will be the same as it was before Big Bang. Dark Force will now be, if HP is above 20%, plus 60% damage and an increase in the number of Dragon Crusher hits, instead of if HP is under 50%, 100% damage. So you are getting something better out of that, obviously. Aurora of the Beholder. Instead of max level 25, it will be 20 now. It'll do the same as it did before. Hex of the Beholder will be a max level 20 instead of 25. It will give you plus 35 weapon attack, 300 physical defense, 300 magic defense, 120 accuracy, and 120 avoidability for 100 seconds instead of only lasting for 80. Beholder's Revenge is a new skill you'll be getting, with a 100% chance to counterattack 700% damage for 5 seconds waiting in between attacks. Maple Warrior will increase by 10 MP, and it will still do the same as it did before Big Bang. Monster Magnet will cost 22 MP instead of 21. It will pull 6 monsters with 200% damage and stun them for 5 seconds instead of having a 95% success rate of doing so. Stance will now cost 60 instead of 50 MP with still the 90% chance of not being knocked back. It will last for 300 seconds. Rush, making a dash forward, pushing off 15 monsters like it did before. It will only cost 47 MP and it will deal 250% damage now instead of 130. Your Beholder will still cost 60 MP to summon. It will summon for 20 minutes and will raise your mastery with 20%. Hero's Will has not changed either. Now we're getting into the Magicians. You'll get a new skill called MP Increase. Will increase the max HP with 10%. Magic Guard will now have the max level of 15. You'll use 13 MP to summon and have an 80% of your damage taken off from MP instead of HP for 600 seconds. Magic Armor, max level is now 15 instead of 20. You will be taking off 16 MP like you did before, and it will give you an extra 120 physical and magic defense for 300 seconds instead of 40 for 400 seconds. Energy Bolt, instead of doing 55 basic attack with 60% mastery, it will deal 280% damage. Magic Claw will still cost 20 MP to use. It will do 120% damage per hit instead of 40 basic attack with 2 hits, 1 enemy with 60% damage. The Fire Poison Wizard, the worst one of them all. Just kidding, I had to make a joke. Will not change at all for MP either. Spell Mastery is a new skill. Will give you 50% more mastery and plus 10 magic attack. Meditation will now only cost 16 instead of 20 MP. It will still increase your magic attack by 20 for 200 seconds. Teleport now will change by you losing 12 MP instead of 13 MP. Still teleporting at a distance of 150. Yet it doesn't say 150 what, it just says 150. Slow will now cost 10 MP instead of 16. It will take away 80 speed for 80 seconds instead of 40 speed for 40 seconds. So it's getting double with the decrease in MP cost. Fire Arrow, the max level will be 20 now instead of 30. taking away 27